Hello and welcome back to the SBK Betting Podcast. After an interesting weekend of football, I think it's fair to say we're all back in the studio, and boy, am I happy to see Freddie. Over the next half an hour, we're going to provide you with all the information you need ahead of a great weekend of football. My name is Brinton. I'm joined today in the studio by both Freddie and Issy. Freddie, talk us through your Saturday night, mate.
Yeah, not the best. It was in a pub and definitely a few pints after that one to forget what I just watched, to be honest.
Drowning in sorrows.
Yeah. It was not our best game, but actually not a bad performance, to be honest. I think you guys were pretty clinical with that one goal, and then we just couldn't get that goal back. We haven't been free-flowing attacking like we've spoken about this season. So, yeah, we'll see. I think we'll be back, though. We'll be back.
Yeah, you'll be back. Don't worry. And...
so condescending, isn't it?
Issy, I mean, I said that West Ham might win 1-0 as we signed off this pod last week. How wrong was I?
I know, and I'm so pleased. I'm dusting off my passport. The charge to Europe's on. I'm joking. But I do feel like finally Fulham, we're kind of seeing those signings in the summer kind of come into their own and maybe, you know, having that silver effect. So, yeah, feeling very good. I drank many a pint after that for all the right reasons.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear. And I had a couple of pints as well after our game on Saturday night. So looking back at last week's predictions, there was a couple of cancellations which scuppered a couple of you. But Freddie, you got one right, mate. So the less said about that, the better.
Not
Is it just one?
Yeah, just one.
Never back Man United or Chelsea ever again.
I got 5. One off actually both Ackers, and I got Bournemouth as well to beat Man United, which I was very happy about. Quite smug when that came in.
Good call.
And Issy, you got 6, so you get the trophy for this week.
I'm
so well done.
I'm in the studio as well, but I'm tiny, so trying to say normal size.
And you also got Goalscorer for the second week in a row. So we're going for a hat-trick this week.
I know.
Very, very exciting.
And it was Raul Jimenez as well.
It was.
So it's even better.
Even better. The start game of this weekend is definitely Liverpool-Manchester United at Anfield. It's probably the biggest rivalry in English football, arguably. Certainly like the one with the most titles on the line. We're going to kick off with a little quick would you rather. So I'm going to read out a couple of suggestions. One's obviously Liverpool, one's Man United. And these two are going to tell me who they'd rather have. So, Ten Hag or Klopp?
Go with me first.
Yeah.
So I've gone Klopp. I feel like he's a master at kind of building team spirit, togetherness, and knows what it takes to win the title.
I think you'd have to be a bit mad to say Ten Hag right now. Definitely Klopp.
Okay. Old Trafford or Anfield?
I've gone at Anfield 100% because Man United need to fix that leaky roof. The stadium's crumbling to bits. Like you can see fans posting videos on Twitter of the ceiling crumbling when it's raining. So yeah, definitely Anfield.
Yeah, for the same reasons. Anfield. New stand as well there. So
Stretford End or Cop?
Do you want to go first, Freddie?
Cop. I'm going Cop for this one. Yeah.
Interestingly, I went Stretford End just because there's a big debate going along at the minute that the Kop is kind of the atmosphere is a bit on the decline. Like all the old school fans are saying that. So just from that, I said it.
Ferguson or Shankly?
I went with Ferguson.
Yeah.
I'm going Ferguson. Although Bill Shankly does have my favourite quote of all time in football. Some people believe football is a matter of life and death. I'm very disappointed with that attitude. I can assure you it's much more important than that.
Yes.
So that is great.
Yeah, shout out Bill Shankly for that comment.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Nou Camp 99 or Istanbul 2005?
I went Istanbul 2005. Obviously, it's got like a nickname, you know, the Miracle of Istanbul.
Yeah.
I feel like when a game's got a name, like a separate name, then it just shows how special it is.
Also Istanbul.
Okay.
Coming back from 3 goals down is pretty special.
Yeah.
And treble winners in 99 or 6 Champions Leagues?
I'm going 6 Champions Leagues just because it's the European pedigree. You're up there with kind of Bayern, Real Madrid, those kind of teams, AC Milan, yeah. And to be in those kind of teams and the pedigree that they have around Europe, I prefer that than just 3 trophies in 1 year.
I echo that, to be honest. Yeah, I feel the exact same.
Great. Okay, now moving on to the game itself. Issy, we've sort of spoken a bit about Liverpool before, so let's start with Man United. What have you made of them this season?
Yeah, they've just been really erratic, I feel. I feel like because obviously they had that positive first season under Ten Hag and it felt like they would push on. It kind of felt like that would be the foundation for like an even better season. But it just feels like a really dark time for them. You know, the pressure is building on Ten Hag, and you know, you saw Scott McTominay, I think, talking about toxicity at the club, saying that there wasn't toxicity there, but it seems like that, like from the outside, it just seems like it's reeking of that at the minute. Obviously, they finish. I think there's a few reasons you could say why. You know, there's injuries and things like that, but I think the problem that they've had is that they didn't bring in like a real recognised number 9. They're actually really they were the lowest scorers in the top 6 last season, and second for big chances missed last season, and so they were kind of crying out for a Harry Kane type player to come in, and that didn't happen.
No.
So I think that's kind of been their problem, really.
Freddie, the mood around this United team certainly seems a bit desperate from the outside. I mean, yeah, everyone likes to take the mickey out of Man United, let's be honest. But they're still 6th. They're still only 6 points behind Man City in 4th. Are they actually better than we're sort of thinking?
The simple answer, no, to be honest. I think they have individuals that can win them games and get them points because they are Man United. They have those top players, but they're just not a team in any way. So Eric Ten Hag has just won Manager of the Month for November. I think he won 3 games. One of the hardest games of Man U's season, and then just at the end of October they lost 3-0 to City, and then at the beginning of December they've lost to Newcastle. So any kind of big game that they have to go into where they have to show something, they seem to always let their fans down. I'd be pretty desperate if I was a Man U fan right now. I mean, you hate the ownership. You don't particularly like the manager right now. You don't like broken. Many of your players. Yeah, the stadium's broken. There's just a lot to be pretty upset about. So, yeah, it's a tough one for Man U fans.
And Issy, after last week's loss to Bournemouth, courtesy of myself, there have been some calls for Ten Hag to be sacked. Is he really to blame?
He definitely needs to take responsibility for some of the fall down of the club. But, like, after the 1-0 defeat at Newcastle seemed to really sting them. And they were that was the marker that their reports that that my colleagues of mine had told me that he sort of has started to really lose the dressing room. Some players just don't have confidence in him anymore. And it's kind of been like this snowball effect from there. But at the same time, you look at this Man United squad and you look at maybe a squad that had the likes of Roy Keane in, and he used to say things like, you know, we're going to war in games. And you look at this squad, you look at Rashford and things like that, and they're not having
Fernandes,
that. That's not the mentality they have. You know, they're going to the club. They're not going to war. So, you have to put some of the blame on the players as well.
Freddie, this game is arguably the biggest rivalry in English football, as we sort of touched on earlier. Does that mean that form sort of goes a little bit out the window when we're trying to predict this one?
It's definitely not as important. I think you could use that old cliche, like form goes out the window. But I think it has to be taken into account here. I mean, Liverpool haven't dropped points since May at Anfield, and Man United have been pretty atrocious kind of just in terms of their form not being consistent. And off the back of a 3-0 loss to Bournemouth, I've got to take that into account when you're then going to Anfield and playing the team top of the table. Surprised me this year and looking extremely good and kind of dominating teams to some extent. So, yeah, no, I think I will be taking form into account when I do my bet builder on this one.
And Issy, on to Liverpool, as we sort of said, we spoke about them a few weeks ago, but since we spoke, they went from 7.4 to 4.4 to win the title with SBK. Are they going to mount a serious title charge?
Yeah, 100%. I think they're more than capable of mixing it with Arsenal and City this season. You know, Jurgen Klopp now looks kind of reinvigorated after being given a chance. They obviously rebuilt the squad, and that was a bit of a gamble because it did seem like a massive rebuild. They've recruited well, but they've also got Salah, who's in incredible form. And the thing with this Liverpool side is they've got this kind of magic formula of getting wins when they're playing badly. And obviously, like, I feel like this title race could be one of the most open ones ever because Aston Villa are definitely in the mix. City stuttering, Arsenal pushing at the top, but all teams are dropping points. So I think it's going to be really an interesting one.
And Freddie, is there a harder place to go in England than Anfield for a big game?
I don't think there is. I think you could possibly say one can challenge it, and it's St James's Park. That is the only one that I've seen live that when I went to Anfield was a similar kind of roar, I guess you could say, where it actually stays within the stadium, proper old school stadium. maybe you could chuck Villa Park up there. I've never been to Villa Park, so I can't
Craven
speak
Cottage?
of it.
Hostile.
Yeah.
Craven Cottage.
But
The Ultras.
yeah, 15 wins, 15 consistent wins in the Premier League, right? Villa Park. So maybe you're making it a fortress there.
Slowly.
But yeah, no, St James's Park is the only one, I think.
And we sort of touched on Arsenal leaving it late last week. Liverpool have left it late the last couple of weeks. They've actually scored 17 goals after 90 minutes since Klopp came in. That's more than Fergie's Man United, as we used to call it Fergie time. Is this sustainable? Same question as last week that we had for Arsenal.
Well, sort of just what I just touched on in terms of like their title charge is that you can kind of look on the flip side and say that they're winning these ugly games. I guess you kind of look at Palace and even the Fulham one, which still haunts me now. They kind of, as I said, have that magic formula of winning when they're not playing at their best. But you do have to wonder is that sustainable when you could be like an injury away from your title hopes just going to pot, really, you know? So there's two sides to it, but I still think they're going to be helped by the fact that it's going to be a really open title race.
And Freddie, it feels like Salah's gone a bit under the radar this season. He's obviously brilliant and has been for so many years, but he's actually leading the Premier League with most sort of goal contributions with 18. In short, how good has he been this year and just generally since he's come in?
Always, he's just Mr. Consistent. The greatest Premier League winger of all time, no? In my opinion. Definitely a top five Premier League player of all time. Yeah. Could be up there in that debate. The consistency that he's shown of just 25 plus goal contributions every season he's been in the Prem, and that's actually that's on the low side. It's normally 30 plus every season, and it's not just goals. Like maybe with someone like Erling Haaland, it's mainly goals, not many assists. He's kind of balancing it out with assists and goals. He turns up in big games. He's just constantly providing and scoring. And I love him as a guy. Just like he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's the kind of model professional that you want at your football club, playing for your football club and representing you as fans. So maybe Haaland's taking a bit of the shine off of Salah, and that's why he's going a bit under the radar, just because he's a goals machine, Haaland, and people speak about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he deserves the most respect.
Is he, I guess, as a Man United fan, you'd be looking for something to sort of cling on to for this one, and you're probably clinging on to the fact that your players have had an extra 2 days rest. Man United played on Tuesday, Liverpool played tonight on Thursday. Does this going to make any difference?
I'd say so. Considering, as I was talking about, your sort of, I think Man United have a big injury list, which has affected them this season. And Jurgen Klopp is that main man that always talks about the schedule and things like that. So I think if it doesn't go Liverpool's way, he's definitely going to mention that in the press conference. Having been in a few of his press conferences, I know what he's like with that. So I think it does make a difference, actually, to be honest. But if that's the thing that Man United fans are clinging on to get a result, then it just shows where their club's at, doesn't it?
So, without further ado, let's move on to our bet builder predictions for this game. Issy, you're up first. What have you got?
So I've gone with Salah to be the first to score, Liverpool to win, and I clicked no on both teams to score, so Liverpool to keep a clean sheet. With Salah, 9 of Mo Salah's 10 Premier League goals against Man United have come in his last 5 appearances against them. So he's in great form in the most recent fixtures against them, loves a goal in this rivalry, and you need the big players to turn up. Liverpool to win. Man United just in bleak form. They've lost 9 of their last 10 games on the road against sides that finished in last season's Premier League top 9. So not even the top 6, the top 9. So yeah, pretty grim stat for them. And no on both teams to score, Liverpool to keep that clean sheet, because in their last 6 games, they've kept 3 of those. And as I said before, Man United are desperate for the goals. And that's at 8.4.
Nice. I'm going to jump in. Liverpool to win. Both teams to score no, and over 4.5 cards. So Liverpool to win is, as we sort of touched on, they're in fantastic form, and especially at home. Man United not in fantastic form, it's fair to say. Man United haven't beaten Liverpool at Anfield since January 2016 with a goal from Wayne Rooney, and there was actually only, when I was doing my research, found out there was only one player from either of the squads still at their clubs, and that was Martial, who'll be probably leaving in the summer. they're struggling. It's fair to say, Man United, and both teams to score no. As you touched on, Liverpool's record is not bad. Jesse Lingard was the last Man United player to score at Anfield in December 2018.
That's mad.
So yeah, another stat that doesn't look good for them. And over 4.5 cards, this could get feisty. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory with that one. Freddie, what have you got, mate?
Nice. I've gone for Liverpool to win, as you guys have alluded to. I've gone over 9.5 corners. So Liverpool averaging 11.0 corners in games. Home games are averaging 11.57. I've gone a little bit below that, over 9.5. Then over 2.5 goals. So the last 5 games between these guys, I'm sure you guys have seen, have been pretty high score. You've got 2 4-0s, a 5-0 and a 7-0. So I'm just going to back there to be goals. Was tempted to go for the both teams not to score, but I think maybe Manu will get something, so we'll see. But,
maybe.
No, I did get one this week. So. And then most cards, Man United. So Man U have a lot of yellows this season, 35. They're averaging 2.18 a game. And Liverpool have the second least for yellow cards in the Prem this season. So going to back Man U to be making more fouls than Liverpool players.
I think, Liverpool probably have the ball a lot more as well. So, moving on to our Accas.
Sorry, and that's at 4.3. Sorry, that bet builder's at 4.3.
At 4.3, perfect. So, moving on to the weekend Accas. Previously, we've selected 4 Premier League teams and 3 from the EFL. Slight change up this week. We're picking 4 teams from across the top 4 leagues. And I've said to these 2, they can split it however they want. Very simple. Go on, Izzy. What have you got?
So I went with 4 different leagues. Is that all
That's
good? Yeah.
Lovely.
So I went with Tottenham to beat Forest, Leeds to beat Coventry, Derby to beat Wickham, and Barrow to beat Swindon. I seem to love a Barrow selection. Barrow. They did me dirty last weekend, their game postponed. But that's at 9.8. Starting with Spurs, they did the double over Forest in the 2022-23 Prem season by an aggregate score of 5-1. And obviously, just in that last match against Newcastle, Postecoglou's decision to kind of move Son to the left and bring Richarlison back into the fray just was a master stroke, and I think we're going to see that again. And obviously Forest struggling, a lot of toxicity kind of surrounding Steve Cooper and things like that. Leeds to beat Coventry, 5 wins in 5 at home for Leeds. Great home form, whereas Coventry have lost 4 in 5 on the road. And they also, in this fixture, have 0% clean sheet record with Leeds. So, looking pretty grim for them. Looking forward to that one. And Derby to beat Wickham. Derby are unbeaten in their last 6 in the league, whereas you have to go back to October 7th for Wickham's last win in the league. So, it's been a surprising turn for them this season. And also it's actually just from kind of knowing people at the club and things like that. The chairman has kind of come out and said he's sort of apologised for their form this season. Fans were kind of leaving for the exit in their last loss, and the attendance are kind of at an all-time low. So it's just a pretty grim state for them this season. And Barrow to beat Swindon. Come on, Barrow. They last lost in the league on October 3rd, and Swindon struggled with a 4-0 drubbing to Wimbledon last time out. So, back in Barrow.
And the odds are?
That was at 9.8.
9.8. Lovely. I've gone Everton to beat Burnley. I'm all aboard the Everton hype train, as we've seen on this podcast for the last couple of weeks.
How's that been going
for you? All right. Bournemouth to beat Luton. Go on, Bournemouth. Leicester to beat Birmingham, and Stockport to draw with Sutton United, and that is at 24. So Everton have the 5th best away record in the league. They won 13 points from 7 games on the road. Burnley have the worst home record in the league. Only points they've got was the 5-0 win over Sheffield United. And Burnley actually have a -10 goal difference at home this season, which is pretty remarkable considering they've beaten a team 5-0. Everton are also 5th in the form table, winning 4 of their last 5 matches. So, Bournemouth, top of the table for their last 5 matches, scored 12, conceding just 3, which is pretty remarkable. Home form hasn't been great when you sort of look at it over the season, but you've sort of got to discount that a little bit and just go for what their actual form is right now. Luton have only managed 7 goals on the road this season and losing 6 of their 8 games. And last time they played Bournemouth, which was in the Championship, but it was a 2-1 win for Bournemouth last season. Leicester. Leicester to beat Birmingham City. Desperate form since Rooney came in, despite a win last night, which ruined my evening, to be honest. Leicester are one of the best sides in the league, and they battled to a 3-2 win over Millwall last night. They've only conceded 14 goals all season, and they're the best away team in the league. Blues have only scored 9 in their last 8 games and haven't played, but they haven't played a great deal head-to-head, so... but I took a bit of enjoyment in going back and finding out the Blues haven't beaten them since 2011. And Stockport, this one to draw with Sutton, this is a bit rogue if you look at the table. This is first v last. But, okay, Stockport were on an incredible run and they're faltering a bit. They haven't won a league game in their last 3 games. They lost to Aldershot in the Cup last night. They've drawn their last 2 in the league. Sutton have drawn their last 4 in a row, and including a draw last week against 5th placed Crewe. So, fingers crossed.
Big call,
it's a big call, and if it comes off, I'll be looking pretty smug, I have to say. And that is all at 24. Freddie, what have you got, mate?
Nice. I've gone Newcastle to beat Fulham, Spurs to beat Forest, Leeds to beat Coventry, Wrexham to beat Colchester at 6.6. So Newcastle, sorry, Izzy, they've won 4 of their last 5 against Fulham, with the exception being a draw. So Fulham haven't won in the last 5 against Newcastle. Newcastle have been a bit inconsistent with the injuries. Obviously, gone out of the Champions League last night by losing to Milan. But the form of losses in the Champions League, they lost to Dortmund and Milan at St James's Park, but they've only lost to Liverpool at St James's Park this year. Every other game has been a win there for Newcastle this season. So, for me, Fulham going to St James's Park, even though they're on a good run of form.
It is one of those games as a fan that I dread.
Yeah.
Never get a result.
It's a tough one. I think Newcastle will want to bounce back after that Champions League exit. So, that's my reasoning for that one. Tottenham, they have won 4 of the last 5 head-to-heads with Forest. Forest only won 2 games at home so far this season. Isn't the stronghold that it was.
No, I said it was a few weeks ago.
Who said that?
Spurs obviously off the back of a very, very good result against Newcastle, and Udogie just signed a new long-term contract, so maybe the mood there is it's lifted. It's
beginning
again.
to lift, yeah.
And I think they'll be able to kind of suffocate Forest with that high line that they play. Forest in bad run of form anyway, lost 4 of the last 5 with the draw, maybe saving Steve Cooper's job last week. And so we'll see what happens with that after this game. But yeah, backing Tottenham to win. Leeds, first time these sides have met since 2012. So not a lot of head-to-head to go on, but backing Leeds here as their home form has just been unreal, tremendous. They've won 7 of their last games at Ellen Road. And Coventry away form is really poor. They've lost 4 of the last 5 games away from home. So I think that should be hopefully a good one. Then Wrexham to beat Colchester. So first meeting between the two since 2005, which actually surprised me. I thought Wrexham and Colchester played each other more than that. Yeah. But Wrexham have won 6 of the last 7 at the racecourse. They've been in good form there this year. Colchester in poor form. They've lost 4 of their last 5. Wrexham did drop points last time out in their last game, but their season has kind of gone a bit like whenever they have dropped points, they bounce back with a good win streak. So that's what I'm going to back them to do here. And so, yeah, at 6.6 that.
Perfect. And now moving on to the goal scorer selections. As you regular listeners no doubt will know by now that we can't pick Haaland. Izzy, you're the queen of this. 2 in 2 weeks. Who's going to get you a hat-trick?
It's Richarlison.
It's
I
Richarlison.
can't believe I'm putting my faith into TikTok star Richarlison, who fancies a goal now and then. But no, 2 goals in the 4-1 drubbing of Newcastle, just seems to be oozing confidence. I kind of spoke about the setup that Ange has got him in now with Son, and it just seems to be, as I said, a masterstroke. Forest have only kept 3 clean sheets this season, so I think there's going to be goals, and that's at 2.88.
Very nice. I've gone for Dominic Solanke. He also grew up near me. That's by the by. He scored 8 goals so far this season. Leading goal scorer for Bournemouth. Could have had 2 at Old Trafford last weekend. He hit the post, unfortunately. Scored 4 in his last 5 games. 3 of those being at home, and they're playing Luton. So, fingers crossed for Dominic Solanke, and that is at 2.1. Freddie?
So I'm maybe doing an illegal one. Maybe the rules need to be bended.
Reviewed. Yeah.
But I'm gonna go Mo Salah 1.82. Izzy's alluded to how good his goal scoring record is against Man United. He's obviously up there with Haaland. I think he's 3 goals behind Haaland, but he's up there and has contributed to the most goals in the Premier League this season. So I'm backing Mo Salah to get a goal against Man U.
Lovely. Thank you for listening to this episode of our football podcast. Hopefully we've given you everything you need to know for the weekend. Keep your eyes peeled for the horse racing podcast, which is coming back later today, previewing Saturday's action from Cheltenham. Good luck over the weekend. And remember that new customers with SBK can get £30 in free bets when they place a bet of £10. T&Cs apply. Thank you very much.